What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Miko, and in this video, we are going to be continuing our Detroit Lions roster preview series, where we are going to highlight certain players on the Lions roster and talk about what they did in 2023 and what that could actually mean for them going forward into the 2024 season. Now, so far, we've talked about Levi Onwuzurike and backup quarterback Hendon Hooker over on here on the YouTube channel. But over on the Pride of Detroit website, we've actually covered a much wider array of players, from Brian Branch to Frank Ragnow to Penei Sewell. All of those players have actually been talked about over on the Pride of Detroit website. So if you're not seeing a video for them here, definitely make sure that you check out the POD website and get a chance to read some of the great things that our writers have to say about those players and where they see them going in the 2024 season. Now, for this video specifically, though, we are going to be focusing on the Lions' first-round draft pick last year in Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr by far exceeded the expectations that I think many people had for him after he was drafted. There's no sugarcoating it. I think a lot of us were surprised by the fact that the Lions were choosing a running back that high when they had the opportunity to take some other defensive players. Jalen Carter comes to mind. Or even if they did want to take a running back, they had the opportunity to take Bijan Robinson, but instead opted for Jahmyr Gibbs. And when kind of asked about it once the draft was over, they just felt that Jahmyr was a better fit. They felt that he had, a bigger bag and was more dynamic and had more opportunities within his skill set to be what they needed for this offense. And that's saying a lot, because prior to them drafting Jahmyr Gibbs, they did still have DeAndre Swift, who, at least from a talent perspective, has all the skill sets to be, a do-it-all running back. But as we all know, when DeAndre was here, that none of those things really ever panned out for him. He was never able to put it all together season to season. Obviously, injury was a big concern with him while he was here in Detroit. So bringing in somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs definitely puts a target on his back, especially when you're going to draft him that high. There's going to be a higher level of expectation of, okay, if you're going to choose him over, a corner, if you're going to choose him over a defensive tackle, and if you're definitely going to choose him over what a lot of people were saying where it was the consensus #1 running back in that draft class, well, he's got to be special. And I think we started to get signs of that even early on in training camp, when Jahmyr was really starting to showcase everything that we thought he was capable of, as far as his athleticism, being very explosive, being very versatile, as both a runner and getting out there in some of these passing opportunities in training camp, and really putting a lot of pressure on linebackers and corners and things of that nature whenever he was lined up at the wide receiver position. Now you translate that over into what he was actually able to do in the 2024 season, and it's hella impressive. Even for a running back drafted that high, what Jahmyr Gibbs was able to accomplish as a rookie is something that I think has got so many Lions fans excited for what he's able to do in 2024. I mean, he ran for 945 yards, 10 touchdowns, averaged about 4 yards per carry, a little over 4 yards per carry. And yeah, he did a little bit of damage in the passing game, but not as much as probably some of us expected, but still showed that versatility to really be another big time weapon for Jared Goff, Ben Johnson, and Dan Campbell, and the entirety of this offense. He is just everything that this team needed. It's probably like the easiest way I could say it, because while you have David Montgomery, who is definitely more than just, your early down running back, David Montgomery is absolutely someone who can do it all as well. Jahmyr provided that pop. He provided that explosion that you needed from the running back position specifically, because we all know about J-Mo. We all know how J-Mo's supposed to be that big play threat on the outside, but to have that in your backfield as well really puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses, and that's what Jahmyr was able to do. And it didn't start out immediate, as we all know. Obviously, those first couple weeks of him in the NFL, only getting about 7 carries against Kansas City and 7 carries against Seattle. But he finally got his opportunity against Atlanta and got 17 carries and was able to put up 80 yards and was really able to showcase, like, hey, this guy deserved to be drafted that high for a reason. And when you start to look at his stats, no, he didn't have a ton of 100-yard games per se. But again, that's partially because he's sharing the backfield with David Montgomery, but effectiveness was never in doubt. The fact that you could have a running back like David Montgomery put so much pressure on a defense and then immediately sub him out for a Jahmyr Gibbs, or again, just rotate from snap to snap, opposing defenses never got a break. And while David Montgomery could beat you up between the tackles or even, break a play loose, Jahmyr Gibbs was somebody that immediately defenses knew that they were going to have to catch their breath with, because no matter what it was, he always found a way to be shifty in the backfield. Or if he got past the linebackers, you knew something special was going to happen. I think about the play against Minnesota where, again, he has an amazing one cut, jump cut, and immediately sends the dude flying the other way. Like, Ja is truly something special that I don't think even the best of analysts could have expected him to be for this Lions team. And it's one of the reasons why when people talk about this Lions offense being explosive, he's at the top of the list. Yes, we're going to talk about Jared Goff. Yes, we're going to talk about the offensive line. Yes, we're going to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. But at this point, Jahmyr Gibbs is like right there to be the next person mentioned as a reason why opposing teams in the NFL should fear the Detroit Lions offense. And so with that said, that kind of leads us into what should the expectations be now for him going into 2024. And as much as it would, for most people, we would like to, draw back on some of our expectations. If you've been watching any of the videos over here on our YouTube channel, Morgan and I think very highly of Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think with more opportunities, with him getting more plays in the offense, and with him becoming more familiar with the playbook, I think the sky is truly the limit for Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he can really, with a good amount of opportunities, and again, with how dynamic this offense can be, I think Jahmyr Gibbs can easily cross 1,000 yards, especially if he stays healthy. I think he can definitely, maybe not 10 touchdowns, because I think that might be a little bit difficult to get, but he's definitely should be north of 5 touchdowns on this season. And I think he's somebody that by the end of the season, while last year we were talking about, man, he was probably one of the best draft picks from last year, I think we could be talking about, is he one of the best 2 to 3 running backs in the NFL? And I know that's lofty. That's lofty to say after one season, but I think that really lends itself to, one, his ability, what he's actually able to do, 2, how he approaches the game, and 3, just the pieces he has around him. Like, it's not the same as when you look at a team like the Cleveland Browns, where Nick Chubb has to be, amazing. He has to be fantastic. It's not like the 49ers, where Christian McCaffrey is like their only real option at running back, and he has to be the do-it-all guy. Like, there's so many pieces around Jahmyr Gibbs that even if you wanted to go into a game and focus on him, you leave yourself susceptible to a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, carving you up for over 100 yards. You leave yourself susceptible to a Sam Laporta going for over 100 yards. Possibly Jameson Williams really coming on this year. Like, there's so many other things to worry about, not to mention, again, David Montgomery as well. So I think going into the season, and we've heard some of the coaches talk about it, one of the things that they want to see Jahmyr Gibbs do more going into 2024 is getting more involved in the passing game, being able to make more explosive plays. So maybe his rushing numbers might take a step back, but I think we could possibly see him have more explosive numbers in the pass game. We've talked about on this channel in the past, with the loss of Josh Reynolds, there's going to need to be some type of supplementation of those plays. And while it may be easy to say like, oh, well, all of those targets can go to JMO, the Lions don't have to just give it to one person. There's so many other players on this roster that can pick up the slack. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs should be near the top of the list of someone that could start to see their reception targets kind of start to climb going into the 2024 season. So I'm really excited, as you guys can see, about the possibilities of what Jahmyr Gibbs can do going into 2024. I think he is absolutely on the cusp of becoming one of the top running backs in the NFL. And I think part of that is because of youth, right? Some of the other running backs that have been considered some of the top running backs, when you look at Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, guys like that, some of those guys have been in the league for a while. And I think we're going to start to see that new wave of running backs. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs could be near the top of that list, if he's not already at the top of that list, of being one of the better running backs in the NFL. So I think him having a big year is obviously going to lend itself to the Lions as a team having a good year. And I think this is the thing that the Lions need to do. I think they need to definitely lean on him more, give him a few more opportunities in a way that makes sense. As we kind of looked back at the 2023 season, near the end of that season, we started seeing Ja getting double digit, carries every single game. And I think that should only continue. I think he should, going into 2024, 10 carries a game should be the minimum that Ja should be getting, regardless of even if David Montgomery has the hot hand. I still think Ja needs his touches, and I think a lot of fans will agree with that as well. So those are my thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs going into 2024. I'm interested to hear what you guys think, though. What are your expectations for Jahmyr Gibbs going into 2024? Where do you think he'll fall in terms of running backs? Do you think that he's in that conversation already as one of the top running backs in the NFL? Or do you think maybe he still has a ways to go, that he still has more to prove before we can start saying things like that? And like I mentioned earlier, we do have more of these roster previews over on the Pride of Detroit website, as well as a couple over here on the YouTube channel. So now that this video is pretty much wrapping up, be sure to go check out the website and check out some of the amazing articles that are written over there. Also, before you leave, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Please be sure to do that. Leave me a comment, leave a like on this video. All of those things help out the channel immensely. So with all that said, I'm Miko. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch. Hope you guys enjoyed the content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.